Rain lashed against the window panes, casting distorted shadows across the dimly lit room. Irvin sat hunched over his desk, the soft glow of his desk lamp barely illuminating the pages of his book. Outside, the storm raged on, the relentless downpour adding to the eerie atmosphere of the night. Irvin, a seasoned detective, had spent countless nights like this, poring over case files and trying to piece together the puzzle of unsolved crimes. But tonight felt different. There was a tension in the air, a sense of foreboding that sent shivers down his spine. As he flipped through the pages, his thoughts drifted to the case that had been haunting him for weeks. The murder of a young woman, her body found dumped in a deserted alleyway, had sent shockwaves through the city. Despite his best efforts, Irvin had hit a dead end, unable to find any leads that could lead him to the killer. Just as he was about to give up for the night, a soft knock sounded at his door. Startled, Irvin glanced up, his hand instinctively reaching for the gun holstered at his side. With cautious steps, he approached the door, his heart pounding in his chest. "Who's there?" he called out, his voice barely above a whisper. There was no response, only the sound of the rain drumming against the roof. With a deep breath, Irvin reached for the doorknob and slowly turned it, the creak of the hinges echoing through the silent room. Standing in the doorway was a figure cloaked in darkness, their features obscured by the shadows. Irvin's hand tightened around the grip of his gun as he took a step forward, his senses on high alert. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his insides. The figure said nothing, their silence stretching on for what felt like an eternity. And then, with a sudden movement, they stepped forward into the light, revealing a face that Irvin had never expected to see. It was her, the woman from the case, the one whose murder had remained unsolved. But how could she be standing here, in his doorway, when her body lay cold in the morgue? Before Irvin could react, she spoke, her voice a haunting whisper that sent chills down his spine. "You're closer than you think, detective," she said, her words hanging in the air like a curse. "But beware, for not everything is as it seems." And with that cryptic warning, she vanished into the night, leaving Irvin alone with his thoughts and a mystery that seemed to grow darker with each passing moment. Irvin stood frozen in the doorway, his mind reeling with confusion and disbelief. Had he imagined her, or was she truly standing before him, a ghostly apparition from beyond the grave? Shaken but determined, Irvin knew he couldn't ignore the encounter. If there was even a shred of truth to her words, it could be the breakthrough he needed to finally solve the case that had consumed him for weeks. With renewed resolve, Irvin grabbed his coat and hat, bracing himself against the torrential rain as he stepped out into the night. The streets were deserted, the only sound the distant rumble of thunder as he made his way towards the alley where the woman's body had been found. As he walked, memories of the crime scene flooded his mind, the flashing lights, the whispered conversations among his fellow officers, the palpable sense of dread that had hung heavy in the air. But despite his best efforts, he had been unable to find any evidence that could lead him to the killer. Arriving at the alley, Irvin felt a chill run down his spine as he surveyed the scene. It looked exactly as it had the night of the murder, the rain washing away any traces of the violence that had occurred there. But then, out of the corner of his eye, Irvin spotted something, a glint of metal hidden among the debris. With a sense of urgency, he knelt down and picked it up, his heart pounding in his chest as he examined the object in his hand. It was a necklace, delicate and intricately designed, the kind that might belong to a woman of wealth and status. But what was it doing here, in the heart of the city's most notorious crime scene? As Irvin pondered the significance of the discovery, a sudden realization dawned on him. A name, whispered in hushed tones among the city's elite, rumored to be involved in all manner of illicit activities. With a sinking feeling in his gut, Irvin knew what he had to do. He had to follow the trail, no matter where it led, and finally uncover the truth behind the murder that had haunted him for so long. Irvin's investigation led him deep into the underbelly of the city, where corruption and greed thrived in the shadows. With each step he took, he uncovered more secrets, more lies, until he found himself standing on the brink of a truth so shocking it threatened to consume him whole. But he refused to back down, driven by a relentless determination to see justice served, no matter the cost. And as he delved deeper into the tangled web of deceit, he began to piece together the puzzle of the woman's murder, connecting the dots in a way that sent chills down his spine. It was a conspiracy unlike anything he had ever encountered, involving some of the city's most powerful and influential figures. And at the center of it all was a man whose thirst for power knew no bounds, a man who would stop at nothing to protect his secrets. As Irvin closed in on his suspect, he knew he was walking into the lion's den, risking everything he held dear in pursuit of the truth. But he refused to falter, his resolve steeling against the storm that raged both outside and within. And then, on a rainy night, much like the one that had started it all, Irvin found himself face to face with the killer, a man consumed by madness and desperation, his eyes wild with fear as he realized the game was up. But even as Irvin moved to make the arrest, a shot rang out, echoing through the empty streets like a final lament. And in the blink of an eye, everything changed. In the aftermath of the confrontation, Irvin stood alone in the rain, the weight of the world heavy on his shoulders. The killer lay at his feet, his life snuffed out in an instant, but the questions remained unanswered, the wounds still raw. But amidst the darkness, there was a glimmer of hope, a flicker of light that refused to be extinguished. For Irvin knew that justice, though often elusive, was not beyond reach. And as he gazed up at the stormy sky, he vowed to continue the fight, to never stop seeking the truth, no matter where it led. The rain fell in torrents, the kind that seemed to sweep everything in its path, drowning the world in a veil of darkness. Bobby, a weary traveler, found himself stranded in the desolate town of Brooksville on this stormy night. He had been driving for hours, hoping to reach his destination before the storm hit, but fate had other plans. Seeking refuge from the relentless downpour, Bobby stumbled upon an old, dilapidated inn at the edge of town. With no other options in sight, he decided to seek shelter there for the night. As he entered the creaky wooden doors, a sense of unease settled over him, amplified by the eerie silence that enveloped the place. The innkeeper, a gaunt figure with hollow eyes, greeted Bobby with a forced smile, leading him to a dimly lit room on the second floor. The walls seemed to whisper secrets of their own, and Bobby couldn't shake off the feeling of being watched. Ignoring his instincts, Bobby settled into his room, hoping to ride out the storm until morning. But as the night wore on, strange occurrences began to unfold. Muffled footsteps echoed in the corridors, and unsettling whispers drifted through the walls. Unable to sleep, Bobby ventured out into the hallway, his heart pounding in his chest. He noticed a door at the end of the corridor, slightly ajar, with a flickering light emanating from within. Curiosity mingled with dread as he approached the door, the light casting eerie shadows on the walls. Summoning his courage, Bobby pushed open the door, revealing a room shrouded in darkness, save for a single candle burning in the center. And there, sitting in the corner, was a figure cloaked in shadows, their features obscured. "Who are you?" Bobby called out, his voice trembling with fear. The figure slowly turned towards him, revealing a face twisted in anguish. "Run," it whispered, the word sending shivers down Bobby's spine. Before he could react, a sudden gust of wind extinguished the candle, plunging the room into darkness. Bobby stumbled backward, his heart racing as he fled back to his room, the echoes of the figure's warning lingering in his mind. As the storm raged on outside, Bobby huddled in his bed, haunted by the events of the night. Little did he know, the darkness that lurked within the inn held secrets far more sinister than he could ever imagine. Morning broke, casting a feeble light through the storm clouds that still lingered in the sky. Bobby awoke with a start, the events of the previous night still fresh in his mind. Determined to unravel the mystery shrouding the inn, he ventured downstairs to confront the innkeeper. To his surprise, the innkeeper was nowhere to be found. The once bustling common area now lay deserted, the only sound being the faint patter of rain against the windows. With a sinking feeling in his gut, Bobby realized that he was truly alone in this forsaken place. As he explored the inn further, Bobby stumbled upon a hidden staircase leading down into the bowels of the building. Ignoring the warning signs, he descended into the darkness below, his heart pounding with anticipation. What he discovered sent a chill down his spine. Hidden chambers filled with ancient artifacts, cryptic symbols etched into the walls, and a sense of malevolence that seemed to permeate the very air itself. But the true horror awaited him in the depths of the underground tunnels. There, amidst the cold, damp corridors, Bobby uncovered the truth behind the inn's sinister facade. Long ago, the inn had been a haven for a secret society, dabbling in dark rituals and forbidden magic. Their leader, a man consumed by madness, had made a pact with dark forces beyond comprehension, trading his soul for untold power. As Bobby delved deeper into the mystery, he realized that the spirits of the past still lingered within the inn, trapped between the realms of the living and the dead. Their restless souls cried out for release, their anguish echoing through the halls. Determined to put an end to the darkness that plagued the inn, Bobby sought out the source of the evil that had taken root there. With each step, he drew closer to the heart of the darkness, his resolve steeling against the horrors that awaited him. But as he prepared to confront the ancient evil lurking within, Bobby couldn't shake off the feeling that he was being watched, that unseen eyes followed his every move. Armed with nothing but his wits and a flickering flashlight, Bobby pressed on, determined to confront the malevolent force that had taken root within the inn. With each step, the air grew colder and the oppressive weight of the darkness seemed to bear down upon him. Finally, he reached the heart of the underground tunnels, a chamber bathed in an unholy glow. At its center stood an ancient altar, carved with grotesque symbols and stained with the blood of countless sacrifices. As Bobby approached, a voice echoed through the chamber, chilling him to the bone. "Welcome, traveler," it hissed, the sound reverberating off the walls. "You have stumbled upon that which should have remained hidden." Undeterred, Bobby faced the source of the voice, a shadowy figure cloaked in darkness. "I know what you are," he declared, his voice steady despite the fear that gnawed at his insides, "and I will not let you continue your reign of terror." The figure laughed, a hollow sound that sent shivers down Bobby's spine. "You are but a mere mortal, insignificant in the grand scheme of things," it taunted. "What power do you think you possess to challenge me?" But Bobby refused to back down, his resolve fueled by the memories of those who had suffered at the hands of the darkness. With a steady hand, he reached into his pocket and retrieved a small vial filled with shimmering liquid. "This is my weapon against you," he declared, holding up the vial for the figure to see. "The power of truth and righteousness." With a flick of his wrist, Bobby hurled the vial towards the altar, shattering it into a million shards. As the liquid spilled across the stone, a blinding light erupted from within, banishing the darkness that had held sway for so long. With a triumphant cry, Bobby watched as the shadows recoiled, their twisted forms writhing in agony. And in that moment, he knew that he had triumphed over the darkness that had plagued the inn. But as the light faded and the darkness dissipated, Bobby felt a sense of unease settle over him. For he knew that while he had vanquished the evil that lurked within the inn, there would always be other horrors waiting in the shadows, ready to test the limits of his courage and resolve. With the dawn breaking on the horizon, Bobby emerged from the depths of the inn, his heart heavy with the weight of the night's revelations. The storm had passed, leaving behind a world washed clean by the rain, but the memories of the darkness that had threatened to consume him lingered still. As he stepped out into the cool morning air, Bobby found himself face to face with the townsfolk of Brooksville, their expressions a mixture of fear and relief. Word of his bravery had spread throughout the town, and they hailed him as a hero who had freed them from the grip of the ancient evil that had plagued their home for generations. But despite their gratitude, Bobby knew that his work was far from over. The darkness that had lurked within the inn was but a glimpse of the horrors that lay beyond the veil of reality, waiting to ensnare unsuspecting souls in their web of despair. And so, with a heavy heart and a sense of determination burning within him, Bobby set out once more into the unknown, his journey guided by the light of hope and the promise of a better tomorrow. As he disappeared into the horizon, the townsfolk watched him go, their hearts filled with gratitude for the stranger who had come to their aid in their darkest hour. And though they knew not what trials lay ahead for Bobby, they took comfort in the knowledge that wherever he went, the light of his courage would shine bright, banishing the shadows that threatened to engulf them all. And so, as the sun rose high in the sky, casting its warm embrace upon the world once more, the town of Brooksville stood united in the face of adversity, ready to face whatever challenges the future may bring, knowing that as long as there were heroes like Bobby to light the way, no darkness could ever truly prevail.